Hi, I'm Susan Wilson, and I wanted to talk a little bit today about Susan Dimock, which I never do, and use her as kind of an inspiration for us today. Susan was born in 1847 in the slaveholding South. At the time in America, there was this kind of value system adopted, not necessarily believed in fully, but adopted by middle and upper classes that affected women. And it was the idea of two spheres, that there was a women's sphere and a men's sphere. And the women's sphere was the domestic sphere, kids, home, family, cooking, and men's sphere was the public sphere, the more exciting, money-making, professional sphere. And Susan grew up in this, but Susan didn't feel this about herself. As a young child, she realized that she was very smart, that she wanted education, and this crazy idea she wanted to be a doctor. And so she encountered in this process of becoming a doctor all kinds of roadblocks, starting the society she lived in, starting the fact that girls weren't even supposed to go to school. There weren't any schools for young girls. Her mom supported her. Her dad said, Sue says she wants to study medicine, and I say she may. And so she persisted and hung out with local doctors and kept on moving despite the roadblocks in her society. There were other roadblocks that came along the way, even though her parents supported her and other people went, I'm not sure that's a great idea. She should be at home. Her town was occupied during the Civil War. They occupied the hotel the family lived in. Her dad died, her main supporter, her dad died during the Civil War. And then also, as the Union armies were leaving her hometown, the town caught on fire. The town burned half of it down. And then 2 weeks later, another fire started and burned down their home. Another roadblock, but they kept going. She and her mom came up north to Massachusetts to be with relatives. And she was able to connect through a friend with this brand new thing in Boston, the New England Hospital for Women and Children, where in a unique situation, women doctors treated women patients. It was only the second hospital in the US that provided that kind of facility. And Susan was so excited because women weren't supposed to be doctors. Anyway, so she was so supported by her friends. They said, you need a real serious education. The best medical school here is Harvard. She applied to Harvard and was refused because of her gender. This was in 1867. Harvard Medical College started accepting women in 1945, which means if Susan had waited till she was 98, she could have applied to Harvard. But despite all this, again, nevertheless, she persisted. She found out that in Zurich, Switzerland, they were doing an experiment to let some women into the med school along with the men. She went, became part of this group called the Zurich Seven of women from around the world, and excelled at what she did, came back and became the resident physician of the New England Hospital, where she did all kinds of extraordinary things, including, this is a poster we made for the American College of Surgeons, showing one of the most amazing surgeries she did that involved a giant tumor on the side of a little girl from Nantucket on the side of her neck. And this was a surgery that Susan did that people thought was astonishing. The girl survived. She did it beautifully. And this is back in 1872. Still, there were more roadblocks. There were still people who said, you're not supposed to be a doctor. There's something wrong with you. You must be manly or unsexed or have some problem if you want to have a profession. Even while Susan was doing the same year that she did this surgery, a guy named Edward Hammond Clark wrote this book called Sex and Education, saying, well, it's okay if women want some education, but let's keep it light. Let's not do too much, not put them in with the men, that's bad. But you see, the fact is that the larger a woman's brain is, the smaller her ovaries get. And therefore, it's just, this disaster for humankind because we need women to produce babies. That's their whole purpose. I could go on, but I just wanted to say Susan Dimock, who died at a very early age in a shipwreck, is an inspiration to us today. We still have roadblocks, but nevertheless, we persist. Let's keep fighting.